A simple man starts his day like any other, carrying the weight of his bills and responsibilities. On his way, he comes across someone on the ground, injured and ignored by everyone. Racing against the clock and his own fear, he decides to stop and help. That choice changes everything and comes at a price he never imagined paying. If this story caught your interest, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and tell us what city you're watching from. Now, let's continue. The morning arrived grey over New York City, heavy with clouds that looked like they could burst at any moment. Robert woke up before his alarm went off, just like he always did. His eyes opened in the darkness of the cramped little room, and for a few seconds he just breathed, preparing his body and mind for another day of struggle. On the other side of the room, in the twin bed pushed against the opposite wall, slept Sophia, his 8-year-old daughter, curled up in a thin blanket, her face serene with the kind of peace that only comes from dreaming of good things. He got up slowly, trying not to make a sound. The cold of the polished concrete floor touched his bare feet, and he shivered. November was already turning into December, and that damp New York chill seeped in through the cracks of the poorly sealed window. Robert walked to the tiny bathroom, splashed his face with cold water, and looked at his reflection in the stained mirror. 42 years old, hair starting to go grey at the temples, dark circles under his eyes from too little sleep and too much worry. But his eyes still had a spark. He still had strength. He still had hope. In the kitchen, he made a simple breakfast, 2 slices of bread with margarine, and packed Sophia's lunch for school. Everything measured, everything counted. The salary of a production line worker at a packaging factory didn't allow for waste, but it also didn't allow for mistakes. Robert knew this better than anyone. He had already received 2 warnings in the last few months, one for being late when Sophia got sick, and he had to take her to the urgent care clinic, another for needing to leave early to pick her up from school on a day of heavy rain, when the streets flooded and the buses stopped. Running. His supervisor always said the same thing. Personal problems can't affect your work. The company needs commitment. There are a lot of people who want this job. Robert would swallow the words, lower his head, and go back to the production line, because he knew it was true. There was a line of unemployed people at the gate, and he couldn't afford to be in that line. Not with Sophia depending on him, not with the rent late, not with the end of the year approaching, and his little girl dreaming of a different kind of Christmas. Sophia woke up when he went back to the room to get his uniform. She stretched, rubbed her eyes, and smiled at her father. That smile made it all worthwhile. That smile erased the exhaustion, the back pain, the humiliation of being treated like a disposable part. "Good morning, Dad," she said, her voice still hoarse with sleep. "Good morning, my princess. Come have breakfast. I need to leave a little earlier today." Sophia got out of bed, put on her rubber flip-flops, and went to the kitchen. Robert watched how much she had grown in the last few months, how she was becoming a young lady, how she understood things a child shouldn't have to understand. She knew when money was tight. She knew when her dad was worried. She knew when it was time not to ask for anything, not to complain, to be strong right alongside him. They ate breakfast in a comfortable silence. Sophia told him about the math test she had that day, about the teacher who had praised her drawing, about her friend from school who was having a birthday. Robert listened attentively, asking questions, smiling, participating. These minutes were sacred. It was their time. The time when the world outside didn't matter. After breakfast, Sophia got ready for school and Robert for work. They left the simple 2-room apartment they rented in the Bronx together. The street was a patchwork of uneven pavement, with houses packed tightly together, low walls and iron gates. Some already had Christmas decorations in the windows, twinkling lights, plastic Santas, colorful wreaths. Sophia looked at it all with wonder. "Dad, are we going to decorate our house this year?" she asked as they walked to the bus stop. Robert felt a pang in his chest. "We sure will, honey. We'll make some really pretty decorations our own way." She smiled and held his hand tighter. She didn't need anything more. She didn't need him to promise impossible things. She just needed to know they would be together. At the bus stop, Robert left Sophia in the care of Mrs. Celia, a woman who was also waiting to take her grandkids to school. She always watched the girl until the school bus arrived. It was these small neighborhood agreements, these silent support networks, that made life possible in that part of New York where everyone was fighting to survive. Robert got on the crowded bus that would take him to Queens, where the factory was. An hour-and-a-half commute. He stood, squeezed between other workers, all with the same tired expression, all lost in their own thoughts. He used that time to plan his day, to do mental math, to imagine ways to make Sophia's life better, a vocational course, a better job, a place to live closer to work, small dreams that seemed enormous in the face of reality. The rain started when he was almost there. First, it was thick scattered drops, then it turned into a downpour. The bus moved slowly along the BQE, the windshield wipers fighting against the water that fell without mercy. Robert checked his watch. Still on time. If there was no traffic, if nothing happened. That's when he saw it. A car stopped sideways in the lane, headlights on, door open, and a person lying on the asphalt a few feet from the vehicle, a woman, in uniform, motionless. The rain was pouring down on her and no one was stopping. Cars swerved around her. People looked and kept going. The bus also began to maneuver around the accident. Robert felt something twist inside him. A voice screamed at him to do something. He looked at his watch again, looked at the woman on the ground, looked at the clear road ahead. And then, without thinking too much, he pressed the stop request button and got off the bus at the next stop. The rain soaked him in seconds. He ran back along the sidewalk to the scene of the accident. Up close, he saw that the woman was injured, blood mixed with rainwater. Her uniform indicated she was an NYPD officer. Robert knelt beside her, tried to wake her. She moaned, confused, disoriented. "Easy now, I'm going to help you. Stay with me. I'm calling for help." He took out his old cell phone, his hands shaking, and called 911. He explained the situation, gave the location, and asked them to hurry. Meanwhile, he tried to keep the woman awake, talking to her, asking her name, telling her everything was going to be okay. A few drivers stopped. Someone brought a blanket. Another offered water. The solidarity that had been missing in the first few minutes began to appear now that someone had taken the first step. The ambulance arrived. After 20 minutes that felt like 20 hours, the paramedics took over. They asked Robert questions. He told them what he saw, what he did. They thanked him, said he had done the right thing, that he had possibly saved the woman's life. Robert just nodded, still shaking. Not from the cold, from adrenaline, from fear, from something he couldn't name. When the ambulance left, he looked at his watch again. Over an hour late. His heart started racing for another reason now. He was soaked, dirty, with bloodstains on his shirt. And late. Very late. He caught another bus, sitting this time because the rush had passed. He sat there, wet, shivering, trying to think of what he would say to his boss. He arrived at the factory almost 2 hours after his shift started. He swiped through the electronic turnstile that registered his late arrival. He walked through the hallways where the other employees were already at their stations. He went to the locker room where he tried to dry himself with paper towels. And finally, he reached the supervisor's office. The man didn't even look up from his paperwork. 2 hours late, Robert, 2 hours. I know, Mr. Miller, but I can explain. There was an accident. A woman was down on the road. I stopped to help. I called an ambulance. I stayed with her until help arrived. Look at my clothes. Look at me. I swear that's what happened. The supervisor finally looked at him. His face showed no empathy. Only weariness. Only disbelief. Stories, Robert. There's always a story. Last week, it was your sick daughter. Last month, it was the flooding. Now it's an accident. You think I was born yesterday? Robert felt his throat tighten. But it's true, I can prove it. The police have my name. The ambulance has a record. I helped a police officer. She was on the ground. I couldn't just leave her there. Look, Robert, I don't know if it's true or not. And honestly, it doesn't matter. What matters is that the company can't rely on you anymore. You have 2 warnings. This is the 3rd major infraction. The rules are clear. You're being let go. The floor dropped out from under Robert. Let go. Unemployed. No salary. No way to support his family. No way to pay the rent. No way to buy food. No way to look at Sophia and tell her everything was okay. "Mr. Miller, please, I need this job. I have a little girl. I'm a single dad. I can't be out of work. Give me one more chance, just one more." The supervisor sighed. He picked up some papers, handed them to Robert. "It's already decided. Sign here, get your things, and go." Robert took the pen. His hand was shaking so much his signature came out crooked. He signed his own sentence. He put the papers away, went back to the locker room, grabbed his few belongings, put everything in a plastic bag, and walked out of the factory without looking back, because if he looked back he would have broken down right there. The rain had stopped. The sun was trying to peek through the clouds. Robert walked to the bus stop like a robot. He got on the bus, sat by the window, and only then did he let the tears fall. Silent, hot, bitter. He had done the right thing. He had helped someone. He had saved a life, and he was being punished for it. How could he explain that to an 8-year-old girl? How? Could he make her understand that the world doesn't work the way it should? How could he keep the flame of hope alive when everything was conspiring to extinguish it? Are you enjoying this story? Tell me what you think of it, and how you think it will end. Robert got off the bus 3 stops early. He didn't want to go home yet. He didn't want to face the reality that awaited him. He walked through the neighborhood streets without rushing, the bag of his belongings swinging by his side. People hurried past him, each carrying their own invisible burden. He was just one more person who woke up with hope and came home defeated. He stopped in front of a diner. The smell of fresh coffee made his stomach growl. He hadn't even had lunch, hadn't even had a proper breakfast. He checked his wallet, a few crumpled bills and some coins, the money that was supposed to last until his next paycheck, which now wasn't coming. He bought a grilled cheese and a small coffee. He sat on a plastic stool on the sidewalk and ate slowly, trying to make it last, trying to postpone the moment he would have to go home and tell Sophia what had happened. A man sat down next to him. It was Mr. Ben, the owner of a nearby corner store, an old man with white hair, a round belly, and a kind look in his eyes. He had known Robert since he and Sophia had moved to the neighborhood 3 years ago, right after the girl's mother had left and never came back. "Hey, Robert, everything all right?" Robert gave a weak smile. "More or less, Mr. Ben. More or less." The man looked at the bag next to Robert, at the dirty, wrinkled uniform, at the defeated expression on his face. "Lost your job?" Robert nodded, unable to speak. Mr. Ben sighed. "Son, I know how it is. Been through it more times than I care to remember. But you're still young. You're a hard worker. You'll find something else." "I hope so, Mr. Ben, I hope so, because I don't know what else to do. I've got a daughter to raise, rent to pay, and now nothing. Absolutely nothing." The old man put a hand on Robert's shoulder. "Look, I know it's not much, but if you need anything from the store, you can put it on a tab. We'll settle up later when you're back on your feet. And you will get back on your feet, Robert. A hard-working man always bounces back." Robert felt his eyes sting again. "Thank you, Mr. Ben. From the bottom of my heart. You have no idea how much that means." They sat there for a few more minutes in silence. Sometimes you don't need words. Sometimes just being there is enough. The company. The certainty that you're not completely alone in the world. When he finished his coffee, Robert said goodbye and headed home. He couldn't put it off any longer. Sophia got home from school shortly after he did. She came through the door with her backpack on and a smile on her face. "Dad, you're back already? That's great. I got a 10 out of 10 on my math test. The teacher said I was the best in the class." Robert opened his arms and she ran into his hug. "I'm so proud of you, honey. I always knew you were so smart." They pulled apart, and Sophia looked more closely at her father. Her smile faded. "Dad, why do you have that look on your face? Did something happen?" Robert took a deep breath. "Come here, let's talk. Sit with me." They sat on the old couch they had gotten from a donation. Sophia was quiet, waiting. Robert held her small hand in his. "Honey, I need to tell you something. This morning on my way to work I saw a woman who had been in an accident. She was lying in the rain, hurt, and needed help. I stopped. I called an ambulance. I stayed with her until help arrived." Sophia nodded. "You did the right thing, Dad. The teacher always says we have to help people who need it. I know, honey. I think I did the right thing too. But because of that, I was very late for work, and my boss didn't believe my story. He let me go. Sophia's eyes widened. They fired you, but you didn't do anything wrong. You helped someone. I know. But the world doesn't always work the way it should. Sometimes we do the right thing and still suffer the consequences. Sophia was silent for a long moment. Then she asked with a maturity that was startling for an 8-year-old, "Are we going to be out of money?" Robert didn't want to lie. "For a little while, yes, until I find another job. It's going to be tough, but we'll get through it. We always do, right?" She nodded slowly. "So, there won't be a Christmas this year?" Robert's heart broke into 1,000 pieces. "Yes, there will be, my princess. It might not be the way we dreamed, but there will be. Because Christmas isn't about expensive presents. It's about being together, it's about love, and we have plenty of that, don't we?" Sophia hugged her father tightly. "We do, Dad. We have a lot of love." They stayed like that, holding each other for a time that felt both eternal and too short. When they separated, Sophia went to her room and came back with a piece of paper. It was one of the drawings she had made in school. It showed 2 people holding hands, a bright yellow sun, and a sentence written in crooked letters. "Good things grow when we do good." "Look, Dad, the teacher told us to write a nice sentence. I wrote this one, and I believe it. You did good, so good things are going to grow for us, you'll see." Robert looked at that simple drawing, at that unwavering childhood faith, and felt something stir inside him. A spark, small but alive. Maybe Sophia was right. Maybe good things really would grow. He just had to have faith and keep doing the right thing even when everything seemed lost. The following days were hard. Robert went out every day looking for work. He left resumes at stores, markets, workshops. He offered his services as a handyman, a painter, an electrician, anything. But December was a bad time. Companies already had their teams set for the holidays. No one was hiring. Many didn't even take his resume. They just said, "Try back in January, maybe after the holidays." The money he had saved ran out quickly. First, the electric bill, then groceries, then the gas. He cut back on his own meals to make sure Sophia ate well. He made up excuses, said he'd already eaten out, that he wasn't hungry, that he was on a diet. The girl noticed. Of course, she noticed. But she didn't say anything. She would just share half of her plate with him when she thought he wasn't looking. Mr. Ben kept his word and let him put things on a tab at the store. But Robert was ashamed. He only took the essentials: rice, beans, pasta, no luxuries, no extras. And with every trip to the corner store, the debt grew. And with it, the feeling of sinking. It was in the second week of December that Marlene showed up. She owned a diner near Sophia's school and a beauty salon on the main avenue. A woman in her 50s, well-dressed, made up, with perfect nails and always impeccable hair. Widow for many years with no children, she was known in the neighborhood as someone influential, someone with money, someone who could help, but also as someone who charged a high price for that help, even if it wasn't in money. She knocked on Robert's door on a Wednesday afternoon. He answered, surprised. Marlene had never been to his apartment before. She smiled, a calculated smile, and walked in without waiting for an invitation. "Robert, dear, I heard you're going through a tough time. It's a small neighborhood. News travels fast. I came here to make you an offer." Robert closed the door and invited her to sit. "What kind of offer?" "I need someone to work at the diner, serving, cleaning, cashier, a little bit of everything. It's not a permanent job yet. It would be temporary for now, but it's money coming in, and you clearly need it." Robert felt an immense sense of relief. A job. Finally, a job. "I'll take it, Marlene. I'll definitely take it. When can I start?" She smiled again. "Tomorrow. But there are some conditions. The pay isn't great, and I expect total dedication. No absences, no being late, no problems. You understand, don't you?" "I understand perfectly. You can count on me." "Excellent. Then it's settled. Tomorrow at 6 in the morning at the diner. Don't be late." After she left, Robert felt a mix of relief and unease. Relief because he would finally have a paycheck. Unease because there was something about Marlene's demeanor that made him restless. But he couldn't afford to be picky. He needed to work. He needed to support Sophia. The rest was just details. The next day, he started at the diner. The work was hard. He arrived at 6 in the morning and left. At 5 in the afternoon. He served customers, cleaned tables, washed dishes, ran the register, made deliveries, all for a salary that was half of what he earned at the factory. But it was something. It was better than nothing. Marlene was always around, watching, correcting, demanding. She wasn't mean, but she was controlling. She wanted everything her way, and she made it clear, subtly but firmly, that Robert owed her, that she had saved him, that without her, he'd be on the street. Robert swallowed it, smiled, thanked her, worked hard. And at night, when he came home exhausted, he would hug Sophia and try to forget the growing discomfort inside him. It was on one of those afternoons, as he was cleaning the tables near the end of his shift, that a woman walked into the diner. She was tall, athletic, with her hair pulled back in a ponytail. She wore casual clothes but had a posture that betrayed military training. Robert recognized her immediately. It was the woman from the accident, the police officer he had helped. She looked around, saw Robert, and her eyes lit up. She walked toward him with decisive steps. You're the man who helped me." Robert was speechless. She remembered him, remembered everything. I just did what any decent person would do." "No, you did much more than that. You saved my life. The doctors said if I had been out there any longer, unconscious in that rain, I might not have survived. You saved me, and I need to thank you." She extended her hand. "My name is Julia Fisher, and I've been looking for you for weeks." Robert shook her hand, still stunned. "Why were you looking for me?" "Because I want to thank you, because I want to know how you are. And because when I gave my statement about the accident, I mentioned you. I gave them your name. I said you had helped me. And when I tried to find you, I discovered something that made me very, very angry." Robert felt his heart race. "What did you discover?" "That you were fired. Because of me. For being late, because you stayed to help me. Is that right?" Robert looked down. "It is." Julia clenched her fists. "I'm going to fix this. I'm going to your old company. I'm going to give my statement. I'll prove you were telling the truth. I'll make them rehire you. It's no use, they won't want me back, and I don't know if I want to go back to a place that treated me like that. Then I'll help you another way. I'll find you a better job. I'll use my connections. You are not going to work here in this diner earning peanuts because of a good deed." Robert looked at her, surprised by the determination in her voice. "I don't even know you. Why would you do this for me?" "Because you did something for me. When you didn't know me. Because there are very few good people in this world. And when you find one, you have to protect them. You have to help them. Because that's how good things grow." Robert felt a shiver run down his spine. Those were Sophia's words. The same words from the drawing. Good things grow. Maybe they were right. Maybe, finally, something good was about to grow. Julia wasn't the type to make empty promises. In the days following their meeting at the diner, she showed up again. She brought papers, contacts, information. She had spoken with the captain of her precinct. She had talked to acquaintances in the private sector. She had moved heaven and earth to fulfill her promise. "Robert, I have good news. I got you an interview. It's at a logistics company, warehouse work. Decent salary, full-time with benefits. The interview is next Monday. Will you go?" Robert was wiping down the diner counter when she arrived. He glanced around nervously, afraid Marlene would appear and ask questions. "Of course I'll go, but I have to talk to Marlene, explain. I can't just walk out on the job here." Julia frowned. "You don't have a contract with her, do you?" "Nothing signed. It's a temporary job. You can leave whenever you want." "I know, but she helped me when I needed it. It would be ungrateful of me to just leave without telling her." Julia sighed. "You're too good for this world, Robert, too good, but fine, talk to her. Just don't let her manipulate you. You don't owe her anything. She pays you, you work. It's not charity. It's a fair exchange." Robert nodded, but inside guilt was already eating at him. Marlene had helped him. She had given him a job when no one else would. How could he just turn his back on her? But at the same time, the opportunity Julia was offering was real. It was better. It was the chance to regain his dignity, to have a full-time job again, to be able to plan a future with Sophia. That evening, after closing the diner, Robert went to find Marlene. She was in the salon next door, counting the day's earnings. When he walked in, she looked up and smiled. That smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Robert, dear, everything okay? Need something?" "Marlene, I need to talk. To you, I received an offer, a job interview at a company with benefits. I'd like to go, but I don't want to leave you in a lurch." Marlene's smile froze. "An offer? What offer? From where?" Robert hesitated. From an acquaintance. Someone who's helping me." Marlene's eyes narrowed. Would that be the young woman who came to the diner the other day? The police officer? Robert didn't lie. Yes. The silence that followed was heavy. Marlene placed her pen on the table with controlled force. "I see, so you want to leave me, after everything I did for you. When no one else would give you a chance, I did. When you were desperate, lost, without hope, I extended a hand. And now some stranger shows up, and you just walk away." "It's not like that, Marlene. I'm very grateful for everything you've done. But I need a permanent job. I need stability. You said yourself it was temporary." "Temporary with the possibility of becoming permanent. I was thinking about putting you on the books, giving you a better salary. But I see you don't value that. I see you're ungrateful." Robert felt anger rising inside him. It wasn't ingratitude. It was survival. It was wanting the best for his daughter. But he swallowed the harsh words that wanted to come out. He took a deep breath. "I'm sorry you see it that way. But I need to pursue this opportunity. If you want, I can work until the end of the week. Give you time to find a replacement." Marlene stood up, grabbed her purse, and walked to the door. "Don't bother. You can leave right now. I don't want ungrateful employees here. And you can forget about that tab at Mr. Ben's store. I was going to pay it for you as a bonus, but now you're on your own." She slammed the door on her way out. Robert stood there feeling a mixture of relief and guilt. Had he done the right thing? Or had he just destroyed the only help he had in the neighborhood? But there was no time for doubt. The interview was on Monday. He needed to prepare. He needed to believe that Julia was right, that good things grow. On Sunday, Julia came to Robert's apartment. She brought clothes for him to wear to the interview, a pair of slacks, a white button-down shirt, simple but presentable shoes. All bought by her, Robert protested. "I can't accept this. I already owe you too much. You don't owe me anything. I owe you my life. Accept it, Robert. Accept it, and go nail that interview." Sophia was there. She looked at Julia with a curiosity and shyness that wasn't typical for her. Julia crouched down to the girl's level. "And you must be Sophia. Your dad talks about you all the time. Says you're the smartest person he knows." Sophia smiled, embarrassed. "He always exaggerates." "No, he doesn't. Look at this drawing he showed me. Good things grow when we do good. Did you write that?" Sophia nodded. "It's something I believe." Julia felt her eyes well up. "I believe it too. And you know what? Your dad is living proof of it. He did good. And now good things are growing, you'll see." She spent the afternoon with them. She helped Robert prepare for the interview. She asked him likely questions, gave him tips, taught him breathing techniques to control his nerves. And when she left an envelope on the kitchen table. Inside was money, not a lot, but enough to buy food for the rest of the month, to pay off part of the debt at the corner store, to ease the tightness in Robert's chest that he felt every night before falling asleep. The interview was on Monday morning. Robert woke up early, got dressed carefully, looked in the mirror and didn't recognize the man he saw. He looked different, more dignified, more hopeful. He kissed Sophia on the forehead, promised he'd come back with good news, and left. The company was in Stamford, Connecticut. He took 2 buses to get there. The interview lasted an hour. They asked about his experience, his availability, his goals. Robert answered everything with sincerity. He talked about his daughter. He talked about his struggles. He talked about the accident that had changed everything. And to his surprise, the interviewers didn't judge him. On the contrary, one of them said he admired his courage, that the world needed more people like him. At the end, they said they would call him by the end of the week. Robert left not knowing if he had gotten the job or not, but he left with the feeling that he had been heard, that his story mattered, that he wasn't just another number, he was a person, with dignity, with value. When he got home, Sophia was waiting anxiously. "So, Dad, how did it go?" "It went well, honey. Now we wait." The next few days dragged on. Robert went back to looking for temporary work to stay busy. He did a few odd jobs, helped a family move, painted a wall, carried boxes at a street fair, anything to have some money coming in while he waited for the company's answer. Julia kept showing up. She brought conversation, she brought hope, she brought her presence. She and Sophia were forming a bond. The girl who had always been shy with strangers opened up to Julia. She told her stories from school, showed her drawings, asked for advice, and Julia, who had never had children, who had always put her career first, discovered a tenderness inside herself she didn't know existed. Robert watched it all with a mix of gratitude and fear. Gratitude because Sophia needed female figures in her life. Fear because he didn't want his daughter to get attached and then have Julia simply disappear once her mission to help them was complete. But Julia didn't seem to be in a hurry to leave. On the contrary, with each visit she stayed a little longer. With each conversation, she got a little closer. And Robert, who had sworn to himself he would never let anyone into his heart again after Sophia's mother abandoned him, felt the walls he had built begin to crack. It was during one of those visits, on a Saturday afternoon, that Julia suggested they make Christmas decorations. Sophia had mentioned they wouldn't have a tree this year. Julia heard that and showed up the next day with colored paper, glue, scissors, and glitter. "Let's make our own decorations, the most beautiful ones of all, made with love." They spent the whole afternoon cutting, gluing, drawing, and laughing. The apartment, which had always been too quiet, filled with life. Sophia was radiant. Robert caught himself smiling more than he had in months, and Julia discovered she had never felt as peaceful as she did in that moment, sitting on the floor of that humble home with glitter in her hair and a child calling her name to show off another finished ornament. When the decorations were done, they hung them around the apartment, on the windows, on the doors, on the walls. There was no tree yet, but there was color. There was joy. There was Christmas. Sophia looked at it all, amazed. "It's beautiful. It's the most beautiful Christmas we've ever had." Robert hugged his daughter, and Julia joined the hug without asking. And there, in that simple moment, something magical happened. They became a family, not by blood, not by paper, but by choice, by presence, by the love that was growing between them, soft and steady like a plant that had finally found good soil. On Wednesday, the phone rang. Robert answered, his heart pounding. It was the company. They wanted him to start the following Monday. The job was his, full-time, fair salary, benefits, everything he had dreamed of. Robert hung up the phone and stood there for a moment, unable to process it. Then he fell to his knees and cried. He cried with relief. He cried with gratitude. He cried because finally, something was going right. Sophia came running from her room. "Dad! Why are you crying? What happened?" Robert scooped his daughter up in his arms, spinning her around. "I got it, my princess. I got the job. We're going to be okay. We're going to make it." Sophia hugged her father tightly. "I knew it. I always knew it. Good things grow, remember?" "I remember. And you were right. You were always right." They called Julia. She arrived half an hour later with a chocolate cake and soda. They had a small party. They celebrated. They toasted with plastic cups. They laughed until their sides hurt. And when night fell and Julia left, Robert walked her to the gate. "Julia, I don't know how to thank you. You changed my life. You changed our lives." She smiled, the kind of sincere smile only genuine people have. You changed mine too, Robert. You reminded me that there are good people out there, that it's worth believing, and that's priceless. They stood there, looking at each other, and something passed between them. Something neither of them was ready to name yet, but it was there, growing, like all good things grow, slowly, but surely. Monday dawned with a clear sky over New York. Robert woke up early as always, but this time with a different feeling in his chest. It wasn't just hope, it was certainty. The certainty that he had made the right choices, that good things really do grow, that integrity, even when it comes at a high price, is always worth it in the end. He got dressed carefully, the slacks Julia had given him, the white shirt ironed the night before, the simple but clean shoes. He looked in the mirror and saw a different man from the one who had been fired weeks ago. He saw a man who had been tested and had remained whole. A man who had chosen to do the right thing even when everything conspired against him. And that was worth more than any salary. Sophia woke up to say goodbye before he left. "Good luck on your first day, Dad. You're going to be the best employee they've ever had." "I'll try, my princess. I'll do my best, always." The commute to Stamford took an hour and a half, 2 buses, just like before. But this time Robert didn't mind. On the contrary, he used the time to watch the city wake up, the people rushing to their commitments, life happening all around him. He was back. He was a part of it again. He had purpose. He had a place. He had a future. The first day was intense. Training, introductions, procedures, rules. He absorbed everything like a sponge. He asked questions, took notes, showed genuine interest. His new colleagues were welcoming. The supervisor was demanding but fair. No one treated him like a disposable part. He was respected, he was valued, and that made all the difference. When he came home that night, he was exhausted but happy. Sophia was waiting for him with a new drawing. This time it showed 3 people holding hands. Child, a man and a woman. Underneath it was written, "Our family." Robert looked at the drawing and felt his heart tighten. Sophia had drawn Julia as part of the family. He didn't know if he should be happy or worried. "Honey, Julia is our friend, a very special friend, but she has her own life. We can't expect her to stay forever." Sophia looked at him with those eyes that were too wise for her age. "Dad, why do you always think good things will leave? Mom left. But Julia isn't Mom. She chooses to stay. Every day she chooses to come back. Doesn't that mean anything?" Robert had no answer, because Sophia was right. Julia chose to come back. Every day. Even after she had fulfilled her mission of helping him get the job, even after she had settled any moral debt she felt she owed him, she kept showing up, kept bringing smiles, kept building something with them that felt more and more real. The days passed and December flew by, the streets of New York filled with Christmas decorations, giant trees in the squares, colorful lights on the lampposts, shop windows glittering with promises of happiness. Robert received his first paycheck, and the feeling was indescribable. Money earned with dignity, with honest sweat, with valued work. The first thing he did was pay Mr. Ben. Every last cent of the debt from the corner store. The old man was moved. "I knew you'd get back on your feet, Robert. I always knew." Then he bought real food. He filled the refrigerator. He filled the pantry. And when Sophia opened the door and saw it all, her eyes shone in a way that made everything worthwhile. "Are we rich, Dad?" Robert laughed. "No, honey, but we're okay. And being okay is a whole lot." It was 3 days before Christmas when something unexpected happened. Robert was coming home from work when he saw a commotion in front of Marlene's old diner. People were gathered, talking excitedly. He approached, curious. Mr. Ben was there, and when he saw Robert, he called him over. "Look who it is, the man of the hour." Robert frowned. "Man of the hour? What are you talking about?" "You don't know. The whole story came out. That police officer you saved, Julia, she went to your old factory. Gave her statement, proved you were telling the truth. And what's more, she brought news articles, photos, documents, exposed the injustice they did to you, The story is getting around. You're practically a neighborhood celebrity now." Robert was stunned. Julia had done that, without even telling him? But why? Because she wanted everyone to know the truth, for everyone to see that you're a man of character. And it worked. Marlene is ashamed. She was the one spreading rumors that you were lazy, that you made up excuses. Now everyone knows she was wrong, that you were wronged. Robert didn't know how to feel. He didn't want to be a celebrity. He didn't want attention. He just wanted to live in peace with Sophia. But he understood what Julia had done. She had restored his reputation. She had given a voice to the truth. She had shown that doing the right thing is worth it, even when it costs you. That night when Julia came over for dinner, as had become their custom, Robert confronted her. "Why did you do that? Why did you stir all that up?" Julia looked him in the eye. "Because it was the right thing to do. Because you deserve, for people to know who you really are. And because I'm tired of seeing good people get trampled while lies thrive. Are you mad at me?" Robert sighed. "No, I'm not mad. I don't know how to handle attention." "Then don't. Let it pass. In a week, everyone will forget. But at least now when they look at you, they'll see the truth, not the lies they tried to build." Sophia, who had been listening from her bedroom doorway, came into the living room. "Julia, are you going to spend Christmas with us?" Julia looked at Robert silently, asking for permission. He nodded, feeling something warm spread through his chest. "Of course I will, Sophia. If you'll have me, I will." "We want you," the girl answered with conviction. "We really want you." The next day, Robert went out to buy the last few things for Christmas dinner. It wouldn't be anything fancy, but it would be theirs. Rice, stuffing, a roasted chicken, potato salad, a simple dessert. And it would be made with love. While he was in the supermarket, he ran into Marlene. She saw him and looked away, clearly embarrassed. Robert could have walked past. He could have ignored her, but he wasn't the type to hold a grudge. He approached her. "Marlene." She looked at him, surprised. "Robert, I wanted to apologize. I was unfair to you. I said things I shouldn't have. I spread lies. I was jealous, you see? Jealous to see you being helped by someone else, as if I wasn't enough. But that doesn't excuse what I did." Robert was silent for a moment. Then he extended his hand. "I accept your apology, Marlene. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone deserves a second chance." She shook his hand, tears in her eyes. "You're too good for this world, Robert. Too good." And he realized he had heard that before from Julia. And maybe it was true. Maybe he was too good, but he didn't see it as a flaw. He saw it as his greatest strength. Because in a world that tried to harden people, that tried to make everyone cynical and selfish, continuing to be good was an act of rebellion. It was a conscious choice. It was his way of changing the world, one person at a time. Christmas arrived on a sunny Friday. Julia showed up early, bringing simple gifts chosen with care. A board game for Sophia, a new shirt for Robert, and for herself, she brought an open heart and a willingness to be part of this unlikely but true family. They spent the whole day together. They prepared the dinner, laughing, listening to music, telling stories. Sophia taught Julia how to make paper ornaments. Julia taught Sophia how to braid hair. Robert watched it all with a permanent smile on his face. This was happiness, pure and simple. It didn't need luxury, it didn't need a lot of money, it just needed love, presence, choice. At night, when they sat down at the table, Robert asked them to hold hands. "I want to give thanks for this year, for all the hardships that made us stronger, for all the choices that brought us here. And most of all, I want to thank you too. Sophia, you are my light, my strength, my reason for waking up every day and fighting. And Julia, you showed up when I needed it most. You reminded me that there are still good people in the world, that doing the right thing is worth it, that good things really do grow." Sophia squeezed her father's hand. "Good things grow, they always grow." Julia had tears in her eyes. "You two gave me a family. I spent my whole life building a career, putting up walls, protecting myself. And then you came along and showed me I didn't have to be alone. That family isn't just blood. It's choice, it's love, it's presence." Robert looked at her, and in that moment he knew that what he felt wasn't just gratitude. It was love. A love that had grown slowly, nurtured by small gestures, by constant presence, by daily choices. And he saw in Julia's eyes that she felt the same. They ate, they laughed, they played. Sophia opened her gifts with genuine joy. There weren't many. They weren't expensive. But they were given with love. And love was all she had ever needed. When the little girl finally fell asleep on the couch, exhausted with happiness, Robert and Julia sat there, watching her. "She loves you, you know that?" Robert said softly. "I love her too, and I love you, both of you. This family we've built." Robert turned to Julia. "Are you sure?" "I come with a lot of baggage, with struggles, with responsibilities." "We all come with baggage, Robert. The important thing is choosing to carry it together. And I choose you. Every day, I choose you." They kissed, a soft kiss, filled with promises and possible futures. A kiss that sealed not just a romance, but a partnership, a family, a new beginning. Outside, the neighborhood was lit up with Christmas decorations. Music played from neighboring houses. Families gathered. And in that small two-room apartment in the Bronx, 3 people who had been lonely found each other. A father who never gave up on doing the right thing. A child who never stopped believing. A woman who learned to tear down her walls. And there, on that simple but meaningful Christmas, they understood the oldest truth in the world, that the best things in life can't be bought. They can't be planned. They can't be forced. They grow, slowly, naturally, when we do good, when we choose love, when we believe, even when all seems lost. Because in the end, good things always grow. They always grow. Even when everything seems impossible. Even when the world tries to make us give up. Even when the path is hard and the price is high. Good things grow. And when they grow, they transform everything around them. They create hope where there was despair. They create family where there was loneliness. They create love where there were wounds. Robert looked at Sophia sleeping, at Julia by his side, at the simple but lively home, and knew he had found his place in the world. It wasn't a place of luxury. It wasn't a place of ease. But it was a place of truth, of integrity, of love. And that was everything. End of story. Dear listeners, we hope the story of Robert, Sophia, and Julia has deeply touched your hearts. If you were moved by this journey of resilience, love, and integrity, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments which moment stood out to you the most. Was it when Robert chose to help, knowing he would lose his job? Was it Sophia's pure wisdom in believing that good things grow? Or was it Julia's transformation upon finding a family? Every day, we bring you intense stories like this one, revealing the deepest side of the human soul, showing that even in the most difficult situations, kindness and love always find a way. We'll see you in the next episode with another story that will touch your soul and reaffirm your faith in humanity.